All right, so I kind of remember my three things from the morning. Deep expertise or solving a problem that was practically unsolvable before the latest technologies. So I think next I would like to invite Sajid from Ascend Analytics. And I think Sajid, about him, I can say that has an entire career made of solving really hard problems. And the problem that he is solving right now impacts every one of us because it actually changes the bill you get after you have had a hospital stay. And I will let Sajid actually talk about it.
Thank you so much for the generous introduction, Akhtar. Good afternoon, everyone. All right. I'll be talking about my experience with customization without rebuilding. Now, as Akhtar kind of set up the context, picture this. You're in the OR room. You ran at 85% capacity for the week prior, and then probably the week prior as well, and then maybe at 75% in the off season. You try and ask the question of why it happened. Nobody can answer that. And I know this might sound supremely surprising, especially in the context of larger scale enterprises, but it is far more common than you would want to believe. So what we essentially wanted to solve in the domain of decision intelligence was layering out the version of insights that really can point you to the direction of what needs to be done. So if there is a capacity issue, if it's a block utilization or utilization issue, you need to know exactly what do you need to change and how. So this is an interface where you get the visibility on the AI reasoning tree. So you see the root cause, block allocation mismatch, general surgery block was 95% utilized, spine block 68% utilized, and then AI recommendation at the bottom, which tell you that you need to shift 8 blocks per month from general surgery to spine to address unmet demand across that insight as well. And then similarly across improving turnover efficiencies, so on and so forth. The way this has been structured is we talk to different stakeholders, decision makers across the domain of healthcare. So be it like operational leaders, be it financial officers, be it people who are medical directors, and then really get down to the bottom of what is it that they're trying to solve for. And then more often than not, the problem is they either have access to too many reports but cannot surface the intelligence. They either have stale information and cannot act fast enough. They're preoccupied with some of the other operational things and cannot really surface the kind of insight that tells them exactly how to be more efficient. So the team that does this is a full stack data team. Without the foundation, you cannot set anything up. So data platform and engineering is something that we do. Decision intelligence frameworks, be it reporting, be it AI-enabled layers, we enable that on top. And then also solve for AI-driven optimization and then seamless operational integration across the board. So the example that you saw for perioperative care, that's a full stack solution based on getting information from EMR systems, accessing claims data, information from utilization factors, and then combining all of the workforce utility tools and integrations into a cohesive semantic layer on top of which we enable the AI components. Now, the challenge for us in this space has been we get too many requests across the entire board where each decision maker wants to do things their way. So one of the examples is that you'll talk to the CFO and he'll say, I only care about the financial metrics. So tell me, what was the dollar value impact? You talk to the CEO and he's going to say, I really care about those facilities not being managed efficiently. I want to have a conversation with the medical director. Tell me like what those numbers look like. You talk to the analyst and people somehow believe that all data analysts are genies, and then you give them a data request and they'll pull it out of their hat or a magical wand. That's not how it works. But yeah, like all three of them have a different range of requests. All of them want to see something different. Now, historically, the way we cater to this was we would design a semantic component or an object for each one of the audience members and take it from there. The thing that we have changed is 3 people within the same organization, we can now offer 3 completely different experiences using the same engine. Previously, the way this component was broken was that we would get a client request. We would move towards building a new dashboard or a report, and then a new data pipeline, new semantic object, new logic, new bandwidth that's going to get consumed, and then up until the next time somebody puts up a nice request, be it on changing the color of the format, adding another aggregate, so on and so forth. The way we have structured it now is that we combine all of the existing systems and combine that in a unified decision intelligence layer. Now, this is the component where You can use large language models, in some cases, specifically in healthcare, small language models that are locally deployed as well. And then that allow you the flexibility to deliver an insight that is relevant supremely just to them. And then also surface discretionary insights in a format that caters to all three audiences without having to rebuild the entire foundational stack time and time again. This is one way or the other. We're still in the process of iterating on top. Completely changed our services business model. Like, in terms of some of the core changes, previously, as any other services business, we would scope out the work. We would tell, like, this is the amount of estimated effort, and this is what it's going to take us to deliver the entire solution stack for you. Now it's more along the lines of, we have seen typically that for a revenue cycle use case, if you implement something like this and make timely decisions, you can expect a net revenue uplift of 1 to 3%. Or like in terms of denial propensity management, you can expect an uplift of 1 to 2% reduction in the number of denials that get denied at the first pass. It was a project-based delivery first. Now we have moved on and transitioned to outcome-based engagement. So like we still get the pilot the same way, not trying to pitch that like you can start with a completely new client in a way where you come in and say that like I'm going to deliver this for you without having any prior relationship. The pilots are one specific problem, one KPI that you solve, and you go from there on. We used to have dashboards and modules as deliverables. That has changed to what decisions do we need to influence, and then what kind of actionable intelligence do I need to provide you on an ongoing basis to get to that point. And then custom builds per stakeholder, which has changed to configurable platforms. So it could be modules that you choose from based on our expertise in healthcare, could be financial intelligence, revenue cycle management, peri-operative care, block utilization, any of those. And then the more we work within the industry, the better and more concrete our examples get, the better the statistics that substantiate the kind of uplift and results and impact that we would create. All of that gets improved because it's machine learning and it gets better over time as well. These are some of the numbers, approximately 12% uplift in terms of utilization problems, around about 25 to 30% efficiency in terms of like, how those directions get activated within the organization. The average reduction that we have resulted in AR delays is about 15 days, specifically to the bucket that goes between 60 to 90 days in an average organization. And then 90 to 95% accuracy ratio in deterministic insights, especially those that are based on past data and behaviors, which has been really, really powerful in some of those use cases. So key takeaway is it's entirely possible, even in the data domain, to have one system cater to many realities without rebuilding at all. I'm going to now move on to the example of what the systems looks like, and I'll be happy to chat more in the demo as well.
Operating rooms are one of the most expensive assets a hospital has. And yet, most of them are sitting idle more than anyone realizes. This is the Perioperative AI Command Center. The dashboard surfaces idle OR blocks, cancellation risks, and unmet demand, and tells you exactly why, with an AI reasoning tree that maps root causes and recommendations ready to act on. OR utilization intelligence gets more precise. Block realization by surgeon, turnover time by room, case sequencing opportunities, all with AI-generated reallocation strategies ready to apply in one click. And the financial impact engine puts a dollar figure on all of it. $7.9 million in recoverable revenue, 34% efficiency gain, broken down by service line and scenario. This is what it looks like when perioperative data actually works for you.
Thank you. I'll take questions now. Oh, I see one at the back, one at the front.
Okay, I got called on quick, so let me formulate the question for a second. I think one of the cool things about AI is it really starts to blur the line between products and services. And what you just demonstrated, which is awesome, by the way, congrats, seems to go, I guess because the vertical is well defined, it seems to go inch closer towards product a little bit. So I'm curious how you're thinking about how you incorporate this or product, dare I say, into into the engagements? That's all.
Yeah, interesting question. And I know for a fact that I'm going to get scolded by Athar Bhai amongst others if I start the conversation on how tempting it is to take a product journey based on some of these realizations. But the key problem is, look, specifically in the healthcare sector, the starting point is entirely different between two different organizations. One of them might have a rudimentary data warehouse setup, so the foundational work that we have to do would be 40%. Some of them might have some dashboards. Some of them are still relying on flat files, which is, by the way, the majority of them. Like, they're not even on HL7 protocols. So it depends on who you're dealing with. You can productize this journey, and it is very, very tempting to do so as well. But for this particular reason associated with the kind of effort that we have to map out to get them to the foundation layer that we can build on top, and then no two organizations have the same problem as well. So you'll talk to one of them and they're more focused from a revenue cycle perspective on denials. Like, their number one problem is their cache is working harder than it needs to be. You'll talk to another organization and their problem is that their pair contracting summaries are off the charts. Like, they see deltas between what pair has committed versus what they actually end up paying. What you would want to surface at the top would still remain modular. And we can think of a product where you have drag and drop widgets that you can put in and each one of them, picks up from the data. But it's the data engineering aspect of it that is really difficult to productize because the starting point is not the same. Even though for a very small subset, you can completely do that. It's a very tempting journey, but we're not going in that direction because it's entirely possible to do this with very healthy margins in a services-based component as well. And then it's not like you won't be able to customize it the way we want because it's an off-the-shelf product.
Thank you.
So I'm curious to understand, what is the customer onboarding experience like that? How are you capturing like that tacit knowledge that lives within the organizations, given that you shared that they all have like different starting points?
The starting point typically is where we do an audit from a sales perspective. Like, I had a conversation with a CEO that I got introduced to. He had a similar problem. I speak to him in detail and then find out that he's really struggling with, block utilization across the sites that they have. We don't commit anything at that point in time. They like to see examples of what's possible and where the rest of the world is headed. So we show them that based on templates. But it almost always starts with an audit before any prior commitment. So the audit is where we look at their data stacks with an NDA, look at the foundational aspect of how mature the organization is from a data standpoint, how mature their reporting infrastructure is, and then tell them based on the incremental work that we have to do. We sometimes have to go in and fix the foundations as well. And then that's the journey that maps out the cost component of it as well. But the good thing is, the more you work in the domain, the faster it is possible to deliver solutions as well. One example is you would only have to look at the backend of Epic or Athena once to understand the table structures. From there on, it's very easy to pick up and build out a semantic layer, even if that does not exist. So if you map out the leading EMRs, if you map out the leading, workforce utility softwares, all of that, it becomes incrementally easier to do this for the next iteration. And then our go-to-market or speed to market to execute these continues to improve as well. But the process is that, you start with the conversation, you start with an audit, do a comprehensive discovery, and then go towards delivery from that model.
Great. Thank you, Sajid.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.